I was 11 years old, it was 2020, and I was in middle school. I grew up having very bad ADHD and a little bit of autism, so my dad signed me up for a private school a couple of years before because I was having a hard time with social interaction. I had a hard time controlling myself, and I wasn't very, let's just say, good with fitting in, so he signed me up for that. By the time I was 11, I completely forgot about this private school. I thought that I was going to go through middle school, I was going to get a girlfriend, I was going to have a bunch of friends. I was going to go through middle school living the public school life, or whatever you want to call it. Going into 2021 was my first year at this private school. I wasn't really pushed to learn to socialize very well, so my parents formulated this idea of me that I needed to be in a special ed kids private school just to be normal. And in fact, because I didn't have a place to go to where there was a bunch of teenagers my age around me, I think going to the special ed kids whatever private school actually made my social intelligence and my ADHD symptoms actually worse. And because I was isolated in this private school, I had zero references, I had zero motivation to improve myself because there was no girls around me. It was a special ed school, there was no women. So what happened was my styles started to become really weird, they were very underdeveloped. I had zero interest in improving my looks. I started to become ugly and purposeless, if you will. Lots of adult content, I was playing lots of video games, I was scrolling a lot. Now, all the friends that I met in public schools were improving themselves, they were maturing, they were growing older, but I was staying the same. I was so locked in this box because I was isolated and I had zero references. If you go to a public school and there's teenagers all around you, you have this feeling and a good understanding of what's normal and what isn't. Now, if you don't have that, all of a sudden you don't really know what's normal and you have zero motivation or interest in improving yourself because there's no girls around, there's nobody around. It doesn't matter how you look because no one who's important is seeing you. So when I was in the school, I could afford to be weak. I could afford to be ugly. I could afford to be indulging in fake pleasure constantly all the time. I was never able to not compare myself, but just have a reference for myself. Since I didn't go to a public school, I wasn't able to have that motivation to be improving myself, lifting weights, getting off of the adult content, and actually trying to attract a woman. I was trapped in mediocrity, bro. I would get up, I wouldn't have a shower, I wouldn't do a workout, I wouldn't do anything. I would just get up, wind in a doom scroll or something, eat, get in my parents' car, go to the private school. On the way, I would get some like sugary drink and then some burger from Tim Hortons. The whole day was just unfulfilling, boring mediocrity. Then I would get home, hop on the hub, maybe play some video games, and that would be it. Every single day was like that. It was rarely any different. If you fast forward just about 2 years later, I found out who Andrew Tate was. It was early 2023. I started to not like the way that I lived. I did not like how I looked. I did not like how all the other teenage guys were starting to, build muscle and they were kind of stronger than me and I was kind of the weak one. It really got to my ego, if you will. And I was getting zero girls. I swear, bro, not even one of them even liked me. Now, like I said, I'm not a big fan of the guy anymore, the Andrew Tate guy. But I was watching his shorts and I was starting to realize something from them. Realizing that
come to you for advice, you feel lost, you don't really know where they fit into society.
I say that life as a man is exceptionally difficult. I say the most beautiful and the most terrifying thing about being a man is you're born without value. Society doesn't care about you. You're only going to be cared about based on how useful you are. You have the chance to build yourself up and become a superhero if you're prepared.
Maybe there's something out there that's bigger for me. Maybe I am sort of a special snowflake, if you will. And these Andrew Tate shorts started motivating me. I was thinking, I'm going to get rich. I'm going to be better than everybody else. I started lifting weights. I started playing chess, bro. I was really deep into Andrew Tate compared to my friends. Some of my friends were like, oh yeah, Andrew Tate, blah, 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 lift some weights, and then their phase was over. For me, bro, I was thinking about me 10 years in the future when I'm on those podcasts with some feminist and I have this genius Andrew Tate quote that completely shatters her way of thinking or something. And this is a way for me to find self-worth and maybe a little bit of social intelligence because I knew that I wasn't very socially intelligent. I knew that I had a very hard time understanding social cues. I knew I had a hard time getting people to like me. And this was kind of a way to get away from that and start to feel some self-value within myself. I was learning things I never learned before, about all the LGBT, the feminism, the governments, the business, all those different things that Andrew Tate talked about. I started learning about all these different things, and that was something to me because before I wasn't learning anything. And this is very important to me in my life because this is, if not, one of the biggest stages of my life that I've gone through. Because this is the first time that I took one step in the right direction. The first time in my freaking life. Every other time I was playing video games, watching the hub, hanging out with people I shouldn't have, doing stupid things with my ADHD, all of these different things, and it just tackled my self-worth. My self-worth was getting destroyed. I couldn't control myself. I was disinhibited. I felt so freaking shitty, bro. I felt worthless, if you will. And all of a sudden, I took one step in the right direction. All of a sudden, I might actually be worth something. And that's why this is a huge thing for me, and always will be. So there's two sections of the school. I think there was the primary and then there was the secondary. The primary was grade 1 to 8, and then the secondary was grade 9 to, well, 12. So I spent the whole summer of 2022 learning about Andrew Tate, figuring out my opinions and building my discipline, my motivation. But altogether, it was building my self-image because I saw myself as someone similar to Andrew Tate. I thought, you know, I was the special kid. I was the king around here. I was the blah, blah, blah. I was starting to build that ego. So when summer 2022 was over, I was no longer in the primary school section. I was in the secondary school section. So this is kind of like an ego hit for me because what I've essentially done for the summer of 2022 was destroy my older self and build someone completely new. I was kind of holding a little bit of this Andrew Tate identity. I started to improve my looks. I improved my looks dramatically over the span of that summer. I no longer had this feminist blue hair crap. I was starting to lift weights, so my arms were a little bit bigger. I had a hat on, which I never have, and I also had glasses on. I tried to make myself as different as possible. This was all a big dog whistle for I did not want to be that person that I was before, that feminist, pleasure-chasing loser. I wanted to be someone different this year. I wanted to be different. All of a sudden, I just want to, like, bam, like, be this completely different person. Everyone's shocked. So I roll in on the first day with this new self-image. I'm just feeling it. This is the first transformation I've ever made, and I'm feeling, I don't know what you want to call it, the self-image, the self-worth, the ego, the pride, the confidence, whatever you want to call it, whatever word it is. I was just feeling like I amounted to something. I was actually the primary character in my own life for once. I wasn't just doing whatever, bro, playing video games, doing nothing, and amounting to nothing. I actually amounted to something. I actually had a role model that I looked up to. I felt like I was different than everyone else. I felt like I was better than everyone else. I felt like I was gonna make it, bro. I cannot tell you what it feels like to have your first transformation in your life if you haven't done it. It's just this feeling you cannot describe. So I roll in that place with a new type of self-worth. I was actually someone who rolled in that place standing up for something. I actually represented something. But this is exactly when I started to judge everybody. Because I actually set standards for myself for once, and I started manifesting self-worth, I was actually something. And because I formulated this huge ego, I started comparing myself to everybody. And I started looking at everybody and judging everybody. It was this new habit, bro, because Andrew Tate talks down to everybody. I started looking down to everybody. I started going, yeah, that guy's fat, this guy's gay, that girl is a hoe, that guy's this guy's that. And because of that, I started being really offensive to everybody. I started talking down to others, trying to be better than them. I even talked down about women in front of women, which was crazy. I did that a few times. I always needed to be heard because I was taking in all this Andrew Tate stuff, and I thought that I was the one who needed to be speaking. Nobody knows all these things about the LGBT, the feminism, and they're supporting all these different things. I gotta tell them everything about it. I gotta talk down to that person to make my point. And I did, bro. I lived the kind of self-improvement life, if you will. I was going to the gym. I was improving my knowledge and my fighting skills just a little bit, and that was probably it. And because I started talking down to others, they started talking down to me. And because of that, they started spitting out the truth. You know, Ashton, you're short, you're weak, there's a guy in here that's twice your strength in the school. Your hair is chopped, your style is chopped, your clothes are chopped. And I started realizing these things, and I took a big ego hit. But what happened is it gave me a bunch of motivation. I started realizing, you know what? I'm not actually this yet, but I'm gonna put the work in so I can be it. I'm gonna put the work in so I can find success. So I started working out even more, pushing myself. But then again, it was a little bit of fighting skills, knowledge skills, and then I had the gym. Literally nothing else, bro. I was freaking addict all around. Still playing video games, still scrolling, still watching adult content bullshit at this point. What was great about 2022 is it was the last year I would have to see that school again. My parents said to me, you know what, you're really not enjoying the school, we're probably just gonna take you out then. And because I was gone so long, because I was so ugly, weak, socially underdeveloped when all of my friends saw me at middle school, I was starting to develop this super bulletproof ego masculine identity of myself, because by the time they see me, I'll be a completely different person and I'll be absolutely transformed. So through 2022, I made a lot of embarrassing mistakes, I made a lot of different things, but I was focusing on the gym, Andrew Tate stuff, knowledge basically. I was trying to improve myself, but there weren't areas of my life that were unlocked yet. I wasn't trying to make money. There were things that I haven't thought about yet, but just because of Andrew Tate, those are some of the things that I unlocked. So we're gonna fast forward to the end of 2022. It's the last day. We're going into summer, bro. I think the last day I did a good leg workout. That's just what I remember, but what really hit me through the tail end of this private school, and I don't know if it was a certain situation that happened, and I think it was because I just remember this one point where I had all that ego, right? I had all that ego from the Andrew Tate stuff, and I was going to the gym with my dad. And I thought that, you know, I was going to be on top of the world. I was going to do it. I was going to blah, blah, blah. I was going to do all these things. I'm going to have the Bugatti. I'm going to have the woman. I'm going to have the house, all that stuff. And I just thought that even at the moment, I was the strongest guy, whatever, blah, blah, blah. Now, it didn't really hurt me if I saw guys who were stronger than me in the gym. Obviously, you're going to see guys who are stronger than you at the gym. This is moments where I look back and go, wow, this guy really thought that success belonged to him. Because, bro, my perception of this was really underdeveloped, and I took this completely the wrong way. Me and my dad were setting up the squat rack, I think. We were getting ready for something. And I look over to a girl that's squatting next to us. Now, that weight today is not very much at all. It's just a normal, you know, girl squat. But I think she was squatting like 190, 200 or something. And I looked over and I was like, wow, a woman is stronger than me. I'm pathetic. I'm pathetic. I don't know if it was because of the adult content or something I was watching, but I felt like such a little cuck bitch, whatever you want to call it. I just felt like such a loser at that moment. And I swear, bro, that situation motivated me for at least a year beyond that. Every day I was in the gym thinking, bro, a woman is stronger than you. Women are stronger than you. What the fuck are you doing? Now it's no big deal. I mean, I know that there's like female power lifters out there that are like, their spinal cord is so fucking curved that it's like a U or some shit, and they're doing like 315 and they're like, But I'm probably doing 225 for a couple reps now, but before I was not doing that. If you go under my terms, I was doing woman weight, bro. It was not good, and it hurt my ego so much. I wanted to be stronger than women, and it was because that I thought at least most women aren't gonna date a man that's weaker than them. And it wasn't even for romance. It hurt my ego overall. So I remember putting in the frickin' work every single day, just going to the gym, doing legs a fuck ton, because that situation frickin' hurdled me, bro. I did not want to have weaker legs than the girls in the gym, bro. That's just, that couldn't happen for me. It hurt my spirit. It hurt everything, bro. That's just one word I have for that, is that it just fucking hurt. But after all this training, after all this completely destroying my older self and creating this new kind of Andrew Tate slash I'm better than everybody else identity, and having all this ego, all this self-worth, finally being worth something. And with that, I go into 2023 summer. I'm grinding every day. I'm manifesting the self-image. I'm not who I was before. I'm not who I was before. I'm completely different now. Completely changing my looks maxing. Getting that stupid haircut out. I used to have this freaking nasty haircut, bro. I had all this ego, bro. I thought I was a different person, but the ego was just completely unnecessary. It was just... And that's the end of this video. I'm gonna progress further into the story, but that's gonna be a different section for a different video. This was just the private school childhood section. So if you want to see the other part of the story, make sure to subscribe. Make sure to take life seriously. See you guys next time. Peace.